introduction. I'll have to. What's the musical term for that? Right, for all three songs Hi, welcome to the 13th floor. I'm Marty Duda, and today we have with us Shenandoah Davis, the most musical name of anyone that we've had so far. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the first thing someone said to me yesterday was, well, ask her what her real name is. And so obviously it's Shenandoah.
Yeah.
And it is, right?
It's true. It's my given name.
Fantastic. Your parents must have been very kind of poetic or something.
They grew up loving camping in the outdoors, and they actually spent a lot of time in Shenandoah.
Yeah, so Shenandoah is in Virginia.
Yes,
You live in Washington State, is that right?
I live in Washington State now.
And you grew up where?
Oh, I was born in Massachusetts, and then I was in upstate New York, and then grew up in Colorado.
How far upstate New York?
Albany.
Albany, okay.
Not all the way up.
No, okay. Very good. And so this is not your first time in New Zealand. You've been a kind of regular visitor over the last couple of years. What is your connection with New Zealand?
There was a band from Olympia, Washington called Polka Dot Dot Dot. They're now defunct, but about 10 years ago, they were one of the first bands I became friends with when I started playing music in Seattle. And they had done a couple of tours over here. And I had never met anyone from New Zealand. No one I knew had ever come here. I just sort of knew nothing about it.
Right. Typical American.
Unfortunately for them, it's probably true.
Yeah.
But they were just telling me about how fantastic it was. I had started doing some touring in the States and prefer always playing house shows, listening venues, art galleries, and DIY spaces.
Right.
And they explained, in New Zealand, every single venue is kind of by default a listening room because people are so attentive and appreciative and respectful and actually listen to you when you're playing music. And coming from the States where there's so many bar venues or places where if there's live music people are a little put out because there's just so much live music everywhere.
Right.
That just seemed like the perfect place to visit and play shows to me.
And have you found that to be true?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool.
Except for on the ferry.
Except for on the ferry.
It's just the one, there's always an exception to the rule.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you've been able to come up here. You are here with two other band members. Why don't you tell us who they are?
Yeah, I'm here with Marty Davis, who's my younger sister.
Yeah.
She's playing viola and possibly keyboards on the tour.
We should mention that we blew up your keyboard as soon as you walked in the room.
I wouldn't say that you blew it up. We'll just say it blew up.
There was a certain odor when we plugged it in. But we'll get it going again, won't we?
We'll see. Stay tuned.
Yes. And the other gentleman?
Yes, and Ian Williams, who plays drums and guitar. And he's from Seattle as well, and is in a band called The Thoughts.
The Thoughts. Okay, very good. So we're going to hear several tunes. The first one is called The Wings. All three of them are from your most recent album, Souvenirs. Do you have anything you want to say about The Wings before we hear it?
The Wings is the opening track to the record, and I think sonically just sort of sums the whole album up. It's a little bit of a sadder song, but it also has kind of a fanfare behind it.
Alrighty, let's give it a listen.
piano in your grandfather's house, on the braided rug and lay his best suit out. You've seen the barest of me. I hope you've taken it to heart.
Alrighty, welcome back. We have Shenandoah Davis with us. Now, Shenandoah, when we were discussing your name earlier off camera, we were discussing other possibilities, and one of them
Yes.
that cameraman Dennis came up with was Death Valley Davis, which we think should be an alternate persona for you, and in which case you then proceeded to start to tell me a little story about how you may have already taken on that persona by injuring yourself. So explain,
Yes.
please.
So Ian and Eleni, who I'm on tour with, the three of us did a month-long tour in the States in the fall.
Right.
Before coming over here, and there's quite a lot of driving in between
Yep.
shows over there. Spent a lot of time in the car, and so we had picked up a few things to kind of spice up the drives and keep things interesting. We got a couple of masks that are pretty scary. We
All
would
right.
take turns like secretly putting on and waiting for someone to turn around, kind of frightening them. But I really like going to thrift stores or op shops. I usually will try to pack almost nothing on tour because I never pack the right thing, and I always just wake up one morning and think, I just want a green t-shirt that has a yellow collar that looks like this. I have to go find.
Right.
There's always the one particular thing. And so on this tour, the collection of things I amassed was just like a little bit more sinister than I think on previous tours. Not for any particular emotional reason, but I had like a black felt hat that's quite big and wide brimmed, and then I had found a bullwhip at a secondhand store on the side of the road in New Mexico.
Well, I must admit, if I found a bullwhip at a secondhand store, I'd buy it too. I mean, I don't know what I'd do with it, but you figure
Yeah.
you have to have
You
a
just
bullwhip.
you just kind of go like this, and then at some point it cracks, and
Right.
it's so loud, and it's like the best feeling in the world.
Isn't the cracking sound like actually breaking the sound barrier? I'm pretty sure
Yes.
that's what it is. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway.
Yeah, faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I also had gotten into a very friendly boxing match with someone, and after a house show in LA where I had sort of jammed my thumb, and so I also had a brace on my arm, and the hat, and I have these pants that are just like covered in holes, and this thumb brace, and then the bullwhip turned me into some kind of like evil Wild West villain.
Death Valley Davis.
Yeah, Mad Max, Death Valley Davis.
Excellent. And the person you got into boxing, was that somebody in the audience? Is that?
It was a friend of mine from high school, actually.
Oh, good.
Which-
Yeah,
yeah,
that's-
we were at her house. She was wearing boxing gloves.
Of course.
It was so fun. I don't regret it at all.
All right. Next song we're going to hear is called Gold Coast. What can you tell me about that one?
Gold Coast is one of the later songs that I wrote for this record. It's kind of dispelling the kind of myth that two people who are very good at life and intelligent will be good at being in a relationship together, just based on that
Right.
merit by itself.
I think some of us here will admit that that's not necessarily the case. We all have experience in that. So yes, I'll listen to that one with serious intention. Very good. All right. Well, we'll come back and talk a little bit more, but we'll hear Gold Coast now.
I shot out the light across your alley. I wanted to get a good night's sleep. I said it was good to feel well rested. You said I was in too deep. I broke off your record player's needle. I wanted to hear something new. As if I could ask And you know the Latin names to every tree, but you don't know me. I guess I deserved to learn a lesson. Sometimes I deserve a talking to. I tried to believe in your intentions, but they don't come out how you intend them to. And you know every road to the Gold Coast, and when to find the tide at its lowest, and how to escape the heaviest rocks across the sea. But you do not know
All right, we're back here one more time with Shenandoah Davis here at the 13th floor. Now you're touring, you've got what, 13 dates throughout New Zealand?
Yeah.
And you've done this before, right? So
I have.
have you picked up any handy, helpful hints on how to get through the country and navigate through everything?
Pretty well. This is actually because the tours have been quite spread out. I was here 3 years ago and then 2 or 3 years before that. And so this is the first time that I've actually brought a smartphone.
Right.
I've been able to cheat on the navigation a little bit.
Oh, cool.
But we also have an atlas, and you know, a lot of the drives are drive out of the city, turn left, drive for 6 hours, and then
Yeah.
you're at the next city. But this is actually a little shorter than the first 2 tours I did. Those were both 6 weeks long.
Ooh,
And
okay.
kind of really stopped everywhere, and so
So you must really get a chance to get a feel for the place, and you get all these little, you've probably seen more of the country than I have.
yeah, I think it's possible. And for me, I mean, I like playing music, and I certainly like playing the shows in bigger cities, but being able to travel that way, especially in countries like New Zealand, you really do just get to see so much of it.
Right.
And you kind of have a built-in conversation starter when you've performed somewhere and have just finished a show. People are a little more keen to talk to you than if you drive into the town and go like wander into a bar or a restaurant and just pop in and like, hello, I just got here.
Yeah.
People are a little more excited to befriend you, and I feel like you get the inside scoop a little bit faster.
The inside scoop, excellent. All right, we should talk a little bit about your music, because you have this interesting thing of being, you majored in an operatic, what was it?
Yes,
you have a
operatic
degree?
performance.
Yeah, operatic performance, which you would think maybe that would have helped Freddie Mercury, but how does it work for you and what you're doing now?
I'm not sure how much help Freddie Mercury would have needed. I think he pretty much nailed it. Now, I mean, especially with touring and singing so much, a lot of the things that we learned on the practical side about pedagogy and breathing and just generally like taking care of all of the like many muscles and parts of your body that it takes to make sound.
Right.
Because it's just so much more complicated than sort of breathing out with some kind of
Yeah.
and so that has really helped a lot. In terms of actual operatic singing, I don't enjoy singing that way personally. My opera voice is very loud to the point where it's like almost a little, like it doesn't feel good for me in my body to sing that loud.
Right.
It's like a little bit scary, even though it's my it's my voice and it's coming out of me. But I do like the kind of melodramaticism that is in opera music.
Right.
Because, you know, the plot of the opera is sort of like moving along, and then someone will have a feeling about something, and they'll stop for 5 minutes and sing an aria, and the lyrics are just like, here's how I feel. I feel that way so much.
Yeah.
I really feel that way. And there's nothing is happening in the plot. There's no forward momentum.
Right.
It's just a feeling, and this person is just on stage and they're singing all these crazy things and they're kind of freaking out. And that I have not done that in any of my songs, but I like how much time and attention are paid to feelings in operatic music.
Sounds like something Alanis Morissette might have gotten up to.
Quite possibly.
All righty. Well, thank you for coming and playing. It's been fantastic having you guys hanging around here. And,
thank you so
we got one
much.
more song to hear. It's your own song, The Future. It's not Leonard Cohen's, right?
No, it
Right.
is not.
So tell me about this one.
The Future I actually wrote on my first tour here while I was down in Oamaru. And it's about kind of having a long distance relationship a little bit just while on tour, but it came up because I was chatting with someone back in the States, and the kind of opening line to every conversation was that they would ask me how the future was, since we're 21 hours ahead here.
Right, yes.
You know, so Wednesday afternoon here is Tuesday night in Seattle.
And that never gets old, right? How's the future?
Yeah. It felt a little bit like a Groundhog Day moment.
Right.
But I kind of really fell in love with that concept of just being like a little bit ahead of everyone else
Right.
back home. But yeah, so it's kind of based on that.
Cool. All righty. Well, good luck with the tour. Thanks for coming up here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Keep an eye on you.
Let me tell you about the future. Don't get impatient, we'll be in it soon enough. In fact, you can almost see it if you stand with your eyes just so. Things are not that much different here. Don't try to imagine them, no. You don't know the half of it yet. You don't know the half of it yet. While you were back in the States, this country that led me away has not been making a very good case. With the dateline held over our heads as both of us wait. One late afternoon is your yesterday night. I have one watch that's set for tomorrow's flight, while the other is set for when I arrive, and all that my absence has left will be returned tenfold.